Peace, peace, peace. What it is, it's your brother Tyvon Sueno, aka the Orthodox One, aka the Naturalist. And real quick, family, I want to deal with a real serious topic that a lot of people are dealing with right now, and that is the topic of cancer. So, real recently, I came into the knowledge that I have cancer, um, and it took me about a good week to wrestle with the concept a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that's foreign to me. Um, I've helped a lot of people get through cancer. Um, and it was something I'd been preparing myself for, realistically, because my father had prostate cancer on top of a couple other cancers, and my mother had to get her ovaries removed because of cancer she had. And she's had cancer twice as well. And so, knowing that both of my parents had multiple cancers and whatnot, um, I consistently was in the shower checking myself for lumps and this, that, and the third, making sure I could jump out ahead of anything in case I ever got anything. So, at one point, a few weeks ago, almost actually as long as a few weeks ago, I'm actually like probably 2.5 months into it at this juncture. Um, I found a lump while I was in the shower, and on top of that, found out that after you know what I'm saying, after I found a lump, had to go deal with something real quick. You know what I'm saying? Found out that the white blood cell count was elevated. My spleen was enlarged, etc. Um, prostate was a lot larger than what it should be. Um, Found out your boy got prostate cancer. Again, not something that shocked me in any way, shape, or form, because I was actually expecting at one point to get cancer based upon my parents having it, etc. Um, but at the same point in time, it didn't knock me over like it knocks a lot of people over. And there's a reason for that. That's because, like I said, I've been dealing with treating people, or I won't say treating people, helping people find therapies for themselves, because I'm not a doctor, right? I can't medically treat anybody, and I'm not going to attempt to medically treat anybody over the internet. Um, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for myself, and what people can do for themselves if they so choose. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for myself based upon um, what I've seen work in the past for multitudes of other people, based upon research that I've done, and we've implemented in multiple people's lives and whatnot. So this is research that's been implemented against, uh, like I was saying, prostate cancer, cervical cancer, um, gastrointestinal cancers, multiple different kinds, stomach cancer, breast cancer, skin cancer. Um, let's see, what else have I dealt with? Uh, not. I may have dealt with lung cancer. I'm not certain. Or I might be dealing with that one in the future. We'll see. Um, but there's a lot of different cancers that I've helped people find therapies for, that that they found very beneficial, very beneficial. And I can tell you, um, and I'll show you in the future some stuff that I'm talking about. Like, my father ended up passing because of something else, but he was able to beat the cancer. My mother was able to get over her cancer in a time period that shocked her doctors. Um, Both of which, and I'm going to get into this now. Let me share my screen. Both of which used uh, traditional means, i.e., like the chemotherapy and the radio, the hold on, let me just share my screen real quick. Both of which use the chemotherapy and hold on, present to everybody. Oh, and the radiation therapy. Um, but they also use something else, and this is what I want to break down to people. So, real quick, what do you do when you find out you have cancer? What therapy do you choose? Right? You can see in the title that I'm choosing something called mysotherapy, and I'm going to break that one down. But first, let me just break this down. There are multiple forms of therapy for the various forms of cancer. Multiple forms. There's chemotherapy. Everyone knows that one. There's radiation therapy. There's hormone therapy, gene therapy, surgery, and alternative therapies. People don't have to choose just one form of therapy for cancer. A lot of people feel like, oh, you got to just do it this way, you got to do it that way. You have to do chemo, you have to do radiation, etc. But that's not the case. That is not the case. You don't have to just do one or the other. You can mix and match and do all kind of crazy stuff with that. There's a certain form of therapies that a lot of people aren't even aware of called adjuvant or adjunct therapies. These therapies can be added on to other forms of therapy, and they don't hinder or alter the form of therapy that you're under. So, for instance, my parents, they used chemo and radiation. They also used an adjuvant/adjunct therapy, which is the one I'll be talking about, which is mysotherapy. Mysotherapy is a word that I put together. Myso meaning mushroom, therapy it is what it is. So it's mushroom therapy, medicinal mushroom therapy. I am using the adjuvant therapy and adjunct therapy of medicinal mushrooms, the mysotherapy, like I just said. I'm also using alternative therapies such as dietary means and herbal supplementation. Those will be the only methods of therapy that I will use. And I'm going to map them out for people so people can see what's going on, and can see my progress or my digressions if I make one. I can tell you now that I've actually made a lot of progress in the past couple of months. So I don't see any digressions being made. I cannot and I will not use chemotherapy or radiation therapy. One, chemotherapy is literally against my religion. Chemo radiation therapy, literally against my religion. For me, I consider that pharmakia. I consider that a form of witchcraft. It's not healthy to the body. I will not use them because chemotherapy and radiation are literally designed as the form of therapy. They're designed to kill you as the host, to starve the cancer. I don't think that's a smart form of therapy. I don't think trying to kill the host is the best way of going about things. I think you should starve the cancer while feeding the host and figure out how to do that. I can't use chemotherapy and radiation therapy because it's too draining on the body, and I'm a caretaker of some elderly people in my family, so I don't have the option of being able to go through a physically draining process. And there's literally no one else in my family that can help. There's no one else out. My family has no. These people got no one else. I don't have the option of draining myself going through these therapies. So what I do is I make sure I eat enough. I eat enough to make sure I keep my weight on, and I institute these adjuvant therapies I'm talking about. So real quick, how can medicinal mushrooms aid as an adjuvant/adjunct therapy? How can they? Like this is the big reason. This is the big deal right here, and this is why I'm sticking to this. Because I know these to be facts. I know these to be true. I know the studies behind these. I'll be breaking those down on further videos, etc. But here I just want to keep it real bare bones and basic for people who just want to deal with something or want to get some clarity on something or get some education on something. I'll get way deeper, but this is just real simplified here. One, there's a mushroom called turkey tail. Now, what this mushroom does is it labels the cancer cells in the body so that the body can actually see them. Cancer cells, typically, they go around undetected by the body. The white blood cells, their job is to go around, hunt down anything that's foreign to the body, kill it, and eradicate it, right? The white blood cells cannot do this with cancer cells because they literally cannot see the cancer cells. Like the white blood cells are mobbing around like policemen with their flashlights out, you know what I'm saying? But the cancer cells are literally cloaked. They have a cloaking device to where the white blood cell can flash the flashlight on them, but they still can't see them. So that's the main issue when dealing with cancer, is the fact that cancer can proliferate in the body. It can separate, it can multiply in the body without being seen. That's why it does so much damage so quickly. What turkey tail mushrooms do is they label the cancer cells so that the white blood cells can actually see them and attack them and eradicate them. And what they also do is they put a protective layer, a protective chemo layering on the healthy cells that have not been affected by cancer yet. So on the one hand, they label the cancer cells so the white blood cells can see them, but they also protect the healthy cells so they don't get cancer. That's extremely important when dealing with cancer therapy. Extremely important. Also, turkey tail mushrooms have the ability to help you pass on radiation when you're going through chemotherapy and radiation therapy. They actually, like, turkey tail mushrooms can actually help you deal with the effects thereof. So even though I'm not going through chemo and radiation, and I'm not going to go through it, for the people who are going to go through it, turkey tail can greatly help you deal with the nausea, with the and with the passing the radiation through the body that lingers and whatnot, the free radicals, etc., that linger, etc. When you're having radiation therapy. I can tell you personally, I've witnessed this myself. I've witnessed people who are not taking turkey tail and doing radiation therapy, and I've witnessed people who are taking turkey tail and doing twice as much radiation therapy and having an easier time with it than the people who are having less radiation therapy and not taking the turkey tail. I've seen this with my own two eyes. If I'll tell you like this, if I could only take one mushroom and I had cancer, it would be turkey tail, just for the simple things that I'm saying right here, because it labels the cancer for the body to see. But moving on, there is a mushroom out there called maitake. This mushroom has the ability to dramatically increase the death rate of cancerous tumors. Dramatically. So if you're taking any other therapy, right, and let's say you have tumors or whatnot, you want to see them come down faster. With any method that you're taking, again, this works with chemotherapy and with radiation. The maitake will dramatically increase the death rate of the tumor, i.e., the rate at which it dies, the necrosis rate, the necrosis factor. It turns the tumor from a living tumor to a necrotic tumor, a dead tumor. And then it starts to fall away, starts to just disappear bit by bit. What maitake also has the ability to do is modulate glucose. Let's say me as an individual, I'll say this: I have a lot of people in my family, and a lot of our people have this issue. A lot of people in my family have diabetes. And for instance, I got plenty of people taking metformin, etc. in my family, right? If for y'all dealing with diabetes, you already know what that is and the issues that come with that, right? And I'll say like this: here's another reason. The side effects that come along with things like the metformin, etc., and chemotherapy and radiation, like there's another reason why I cannot and will not deal with things like that, because one of the side effects is a foggy brain and not being able to think clearly and whatnot. And again, I've witnessed this firsthand. I don't have the luxury of being able to not think clearly. I have people that depend on me, so I need to have a clear brain at all times. So I need to make sure that I'm using a therapy that treats my body, but also does not affect my mind. And the thing about all these mushrooms is none of them have a negative side effect. You're not going to be allergic to them either. You're not going to be allergic to them because 30% of our DNA actually is patterned and uses the same DNA sequencing as mushrooms. And as a matter of fact, the part of our DNA that uses the same sequencing is our immune system. So you're not going to be allergic to them. You can't take too much of them, and they're not going to have any negative side effect. In fact, they only have positive side effects. I've never implemented this for someone who had a negative side effect with it. The only negative side effect that one might be able to complain of is if you have to take an extremely large amount, like you're trying to knock out some heavy cancer, like straight off the top. You might experience some loose bowel movements because of the fiber, because mushrooms are fibers. But beyond that, like having a clear system is not actually a bad thing. That's like the worst thing you can think about when dealing with these things. But that's if you have to take an extreme amount. Like we're talking extreme amount. Most people will never have to take the amount that would take to to give you the runs or something like that. But moving on. Agaricus blazei also is another mushroom that has the ability to dramatically increase the death rate of cancerous tumors. So if someone has cancer or someone has tumors or whatnot, and they want those to go down really fast, maitake and Agaricus blazei dramatically help as an adjuvant therapy with any of the therapy that you want to take, to decrease increase the death rate of the cancerous tumor. Not only that, they have the ability to help with the turkey tail. When you take those 2 and 3 together, they help with ensuring that you don't have something called metastasis, which is when the cancer spreads from one part of the body to the next. Those 3 top mushrooms at the top of the list will dramatically help in dealing with the concept of metastasis and ensuring that it avoids metastasis from happening. Moving on. Reishi is another mushroom that's very, very powerful when dealing with a mysotherapy for cancer therapies, etc. Reishi can increase something called NK cells. Most of these do that as well, but this is very powerful in this sense. NK cells are natural killer cells. Like, these are the ones with the flashlight I'm saying, looking for the foreign bodies in the system. These are the ones who want to take out the cancer. They just can't see it. But when you give the body turkey tail, it can now see it. These things, reishi helps produce more of those, so that it knocks them out real quick, right? It's like a calling all cars kind of a thing, right? It's also a very, very, very strong anti-inflammatory that's not negative on our system. Most people of African descent, if they take chemical-based anti-inflammatories, they'll end up having kidney issues over a long period of time and whatnot. And so if you're put on a for instance, it's been shown that reishi in studies is comparable to prednisone. Prednisone is an extremely strong steroid and anti-inflammatory, but it also has the ability, when you take it over time, it decreases muscle tissue. Reishi does not have that side effect. You get a very similar, comparable amount of a steroid-like anti-inflammatory with no attack on the kidney and no decrease of muscle tissue. In fact, if you take reishi, it actually increases growth of certain tissues. Like, you'll notice that you'll have to start clipping your nails and cutting your hair a little bit more often when you take reishi. It increases growth factors. It doesn't decrease them. So you don't have to worry about muscle loss or kidney damage with reishi. On top of that, with that, another mushroom that increases NK cells and other things is cordyceps. The interesting thing about cordyceps, again, this is like a calling all cars kind of a situation with the reishi, to where it helps produce more of the fighting cells to go against the cancer. But at the same point in time, you don't want too many white blood cells in your system. If you have too many white blood cells in your system, it's gonna give your spleen issues, and they're gonna start eating you. They're gonna start eating you. You don't want that. You want just the right amount of white blood cells to do the job. You don't want too many troops on the field. They start stepping on each other. You want just the right amount of troops to take out what you need to. And with a lot of these things, it's like a special forces kind of a thing. They get into the job and get out. You don't need a bunch of troops on the field, right? So the thing about the cordyceps is what they have the ability to do is modulate the overproduction of white blood cells. When you start getting past the point to where you're producing more than what you need, the cordyceps kick in and say, no, stop. Slow down production real quick. We got enough troops on the field. Leave the rest in reserve till I holler at you real quick. Like that's a very big thing. That's very important. I'm taking a lot of those right now myself, because, for instance, that was one of the things that I was dealing with a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. Well, actually, no, it started 2 months ago. 2.5 months ago is when I found the lump. 2 months ago is when I noticed my spleen starting to enlarge. And that's when that's a bad day, fam. You'll know your spleen's enlarged too when it starts to happen. When you're producing enough white blood cells to recognize that your spleen's enlarged, oh, that's a bad day. You're producing like probably 7 times more than what you need. And that's no good. So That's something I've had to focus on dramatically. One, the turkey tail helped direct the white blood cells to where to go, so they're not just standing around on the battlefield. You know what I'm saying? But two, the cordyceps is helping not overproduce the white blood cells. Now I'm going to jump into a couple specific kinds of cancer treatments real quick, and because what I just mentioned beforehand, those other mushrooms from turkey tail, maitake, agaricus, spacei, reishi, the cordyceps, that's good for like just general stuff, right? But there's a couple different cancers I want to talk about in particular that our community is dealing with, that no one's really addressing, and no one from an outside community is going to address for us. One, I'm going to talk about something going on in the South that affected my father and a bunch of other people, and it's still affecting people. For instance, those who are veterans and whatnot, is people who were affected by dioxins and things like Agent Orange. Dioxin-like chemicals that were buried in the South by chemical manufacturing companies, and our veterans who were sent to Vietnam and were hit with Agent Orange. Now, what these dioxins do is they're designed to make plant life die and not reproduce. They're designed to take out the reproduction rate of vegetation. So let me say it like this: like, so when they were using this in Vietnam, the whole point of them dropping Agent Orange on the forest and whatnot was to kill the forest, so that our troops weren't getting messed up in guerrilla warfare, because the Viet Cong were messing us up in guerrilla warfare. They were masters of their jungle, so we took out their jungle so they couldn't be masters of it. Anything strong enough to kill a forest is strong enough to kill you. One more time, anything strong enough to kill a forest is strong enough to kill you. So when you see people spraying these dioxins on their weeds and this, that, and the third, it's going into the ground, going into the groundwater, all that kind of stuff there. And this is what they found out in places like Alabama, where my father's from, and in other places in the South, where a large amount of chemicals were dumped into rivers, lakes, buried next to rivers, dumped in the ground, people planting on top of that ground, all that kind of stuff. In the South, there's epidemics right now of people getting dioxin-related cancers. And so there's a certain family of mushrooms that specifically remediate or repair the damage done from dioxins and whatnot. Because what the dioxins actually do is they actually start to rewrite your DNA. They reprogram your DNA. These mushrooms actually unprogram the programming that the dioxin does and cleans it out of your system. These are oyster mushrooms, and certain families thereof within the oyster, like certain specific ones in the oyster family. This is a very, very, very big deal for us to know about as a community. We're not being marketed this product in any way, shape, or form, and we need to market it to ourselves and make it for ourselves right now, because our people are dying, and they can't get the dioxin out of their system with whatever cancer treatment that they're taking. The cancer isn't even the issue when it comes to the dioxin related cancers. The dioxin is the issue. The cancer is a byproduct. You knock out the dioxin, you can actually start treating the cancer. You can't treat the cancer without treating the dioxin. So anybody who got family in the South right now, y'all know what I'm talking about. Not only are people getting ravaged just east to west coast and all the type of, but in the South, y'all know what it is. There's all kind of lawsuits popping off, all kind of stuff. People not getting paid. People, when they do get paid, they're not getting the treatment they need, etc. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And on top of that, we got our people who are military veterans. Y'all already know the Operation Black Shield concept, right? Our military vets were put on. Like, my father was loading and unloading this stuff off of planes. You understand what I'm saying? He had no idea. He told me straight up, and like, we were not given any kind of info as to what that stuff was. I did not know that my government was poisoning me. That's what my pop said. My pop, before he died, commissioned me. He made me promise him to go join the fight with the veterans fighting the government to get compensation for them being dealt with Agent Orange and whatnot. And part of that is part of that promise was I had to develop products to help them out. we were able to defeat the cancer at one point, but then we found out we couldn't beat the dioxin, and we found out about this stuff too late. It was too late. My dad didn't have enough to fight on with it. It was way too late. The dioxin, like I'm saying, the dioxin reprograms your body to shut down. Just like it reprograms a forest to just shut down and die and not reproduce. But if my father was able to get enough of this in time, he would have been good money. Good money. And I'll break that down in a future video. But another thing that's affecting our community that a lot of us don't even think of is skin cancer. I'm talking specifically about the African albinos. They have a high rate of skin cancer, obviously, and they have a hard time getting treatment where they're at. In a lot of places where they live in Africa, they're not even seen as human beings, so they don't get the medical treatment that they need. The poorest so-called European in America is getting more treatment for their skin cancer than the richest albino in Africa. You know what I'm saying? And to that effect, there's two mushrooms in particular that have the ability to specifically knock out what they're dealing with in a very potent way. Chaga, when wood grown, can contain something called beta-lunic acid. Betaline and beta-lunic acid are specifically toxic to melanoma. On top of that, chaga is a natural source of melanin. So you can already see where that's going to be beneficial to somebody who has melanoma. Birch polypore grows on the same wood, the same trees that chaga grows on, and it also can contain beta-lunic acid. I should have put that in. It says beta-lunic. It's like it should say betaline and beta-lunic acid. My fault there, family. Again, betaline and beta-lunic acid are specifically toxic to melanoma. Specifically toxic to melanoma. It kills melanoma. It kills skin cancer. It's toxic to it. These are just some of the ways that medicinal mushrooms can be beneficial as an adjuvant or adjunct therapy when dealing with cancer. Whatever you want to throw this on top of, whatever form of therapy that you use, these will not harm those therapies. These will help those therapies out. When you're going to go pick out medicinal mushroom products, there's a few things that you need to understand, though, because not all medicinal mushroom products are created equal. Some of the most expensive products are not good at all, and some of the cheapest products can deliver more potency than the expensive products. At the end of the day, it all depends on the method of manufacturing and how the product was made. So this is where y'all need to pay attention. And I put these notes in the description. I'll be putting a link to the Facebook page of this that this file is on below. So y'all, I really want y'all to pay attention to this part here because I'm gonna be going into this in more detail in the future. But this is some real basic stuff for you to look to be able to be an educated consumer with right here. So first and foremost, mushroom extracts are better than mushroom powders. Mushroom extracts are better than mushroom powders. Mushroom extracts are you take a bunch of mushrooms and you either soak them in alcohol or you boil them down in water and you leach out particular chemicals from them. So you don't have to break down the actual fiber from the mushroom. Mushroom powders are basically just dried mushrooms ground into a powder. And on top of that, the mushroom powders are less potent than the extracts. The mushroom powders are less potent than the extracts and have the ability to lose their potency faster over time. Now, when it comes to extracts, hot water extracts are better than alcohol-based extracts. In most cases, there's very few cases to where you want the alcohol extract of a mushroom. And I'll go into that in the future, but 9 times out of 10, and for all the mushrooms that are listed above, the hot water extracts are better than the alcohol-based extracts. They actually extract more of what you need, and it's more it's more absorbable to the body. They absorb, it gets more of what you need, and it's more absorbable to the body, and it will last longer than the alcohol based. In terms of in terms of the part that's good for you. There's things that will last in the alcohol for a long time, but the stuff that you need is best found in the hot water extracts. Wood grown mushrooms are better than rice and oat grown mushrooms, 9 times out of 10. Mushrooms specifically get their nutrition and medicinal benefits more often than not all the time, but more often than not, they get their medicinal benefits from the wood that they're growing on. For instance, like I said earlier, that chaga and birch polypore, they both grow on the same tree, and there's a chemical in the bark of that tree called beta-lunic acid. Now, you and I cannot eat the bark of that tree or boil the bark of that tree and get the beta-lunic acid out of it. However, the chaga pre-digests it. The birch polypore pre-digests it, and in the form that it digests within the chaga and birch polypore, we can extract it from the chaga and the birch polypore. So if I were to grow chaga and birch polypore on something that was not the birch tree, I'm not going to get that medicinal benefit out of it. A lot of people try to cheat the process by growing mushrooms on rice and oats to make it happen faster. Now, you can get some medicinal benefits that way, but you're not always going to get all the medicinal benefits. Again, I cannot grow chaga and birch polypore on rice and oats and get the beta-lunic acid I'm looking for from the birch tree. And last but not least, most often, fruit bodies are better than mycelium-based products. Fruit bodies are, let me scroll to the top, they're the part that you actually see when a mushroom is on top of the ground or on a piece of wood or something like that. That's the part that you see. Mycelium is the stringy stuff underneath the ground or within the wood that you don't see. And so what a lot of people do is they'll grow mycelium on rice and oats because they can grow mycelium on rice and oats faster than what it takes to get fruit bodies off of wood. So commercially, it makes more sense for them to grow it on rice and oats and get mycelium versus the time and length that it takes to get the fruit bodies off the wood. So think of mycelium as like sprouts versus a whole plant. They're raising sprouts and selling you sprouts versus giving you the whole plant. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, the fruit body is going to be more potent for you than the mycelium. Now, again, not all the time. There's certain things that you can get out the mycelium, but it's not like, so I can get health benefits out of chaga mycelium, birch poor mycelium, turkey tail mycelium, etc. But when I'm looking for that real potent stuff, I have to go for the fruit body or the sclerotia, which is chaga. That's a technical term, sclerotia. I'll get to that way later when I do a big video on chaga. My apologies for that one. Right, that's a $10 word for something real simple. About it'll take me time to break that one down. Where was I at? So one more time, I'm going to run through this. Mushroom extracts are better than mushroom powders. Hot water extracts are better than alcohol-based extracts. Wood-grown mushrooms are better than rice and oat-grown mushrooms. And more often than not, fruit bodies are better than mycelium products. If you have any questions about that at all, please put them down below. Please go to this post on the Facebook link that I'm sending you and put them there, etc. Because I want to answer any questions y'all got on this stuff. Again, I touched on this, like 3 big cancer epidemics facing our community. I touched on the basic rise in cancer in our community, period. Everyone knows somebody with cancer. Everybody knows somebody with cancer. Many people in the South were exposed to Agent Orange, like toxins, and have dioxin-based cancers. And like I'm saying, all my people in the league, like in the South and whatnot, y'all can speak on this. Because I know my family was getting all kind of paperwork for lawsuits that they were part of and all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I didn't qualify because I was too far removed from the situation and whatnot. But yeah, there was a lot of people involved in lawsuits and whatnot, particularly in Alabama. Y'all Y'all can speak to other spots or whatnot, but I know for a fact Alabama was heavily affected by this and is currently heavily affected by this. These dioxin-based cancers are no joke, fam, and is epidemic. Like, they're not trying to, like, y'all got to understand, until they clean up the water and the earth through proper remediation, which they would need these mushrooms for to do anyway, people are going to keep getting sick generation after generation after generation there. It's in the ground. It ain't going nowhere. It's in the ground. It's in the water. Not going nowhere. And again, like you heard me talk about, we have our African albino brethren who need help with their therapies for their skin cancers. They're not even seen as human over there. Much less people feeling like they need people feel like they're wasting money on giving them treatment. Does that make sense? How about this? In Africa, I can make more money giving a South African Dutch person, a South African English person, skin cancer therapy than I can giving it to one of our people who need it. Why would I do that? They're just going to get chopped up by a witch doctor. Do you feel what I'm saying? Like, fam, that's crazy over there. That's epidemic to me. You got people who are born albinos, as African as the next person. Didn't choose to be born albino. Didn't ask to be born albino. As African as the next person, getting killed by the sun down there. And our people are just watching it happen. When I was helping my mother out with her cancer and whatnot, we were watching a documentary on skin cancer in the albinos in Africa and whatnot. And it wasn't about skin cancer, it was about the treatment of the albinos. They talked about skin cancer. And she saw one that had all these big tumors on the outside of their body and whatnot, and face and all kind of stuff, and like, and was pretty much blind with their albinism and whatnot. And it broke my mother's heart. My mother made me promise to do something about that. It broke my heart. I had no issue saying I would promise to do something about that. Because we got people getting all kind of expensive cancer treatments all day from European descent on this skin cancer went up, but we're not doing nothing to help our people with our people's skin cancer. So to that end, while I'm on my own personal journey of my adjuvant therapies and alternative therapies and dealing with my cancer situation, I'm going to be asking for help from our community to deal with community solutions and how to deal with these big epidemics and whatnot. I'm not trying to make a buck off this. I'm actually trying to do this in a sense to where we can give jobs to our community and produce things at a cheaper cost than what's out there right now. So we can actually get these products to our community in such a way to where it's not going to break their pocket. Not going to break their pocket. Because right now it's going to break our pocket. We got no means for making this happen. And because we have no means for making it happen, it just becomes expensive right off the top. So while I'm on my journey, I'm going to be walking out a bunch of information in a slow rolled manner so people can walk through it little bit by little bit. But I'm going to be asking for crowdfunding to develop products targeted to our needs and for our people on a nonprofit basis. I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm trying to make a buck. Again, I'm not trying to make a buck off this. I got promises I made to my father and to my mother. And apparently the universe is giving me a healthy reminder as to get on that promise, because I got to deal with it myself now. Feel what I'm saying? So part of my medicine that I'm dealing with in terms of healing me is trying to heal the community of the same issue. So I will be producing a line of products that fills big gaps in the market. There's things, like I'm saying, there's products our people need that they can't even get right now. If you got dioxin-based cancers, you can't even get the best of what I'm talking about. What's out there isn't potent enough. What's out there Let me tell you like this. Let me tell you why my father didn't make it, right? So the only mushrooms we were able to find to deal with the dioxins, we were only able to find powders. There's no one out there that makes them in an extract form. No one. And no one who makes them in a hot water extract form. He couldn't take them in a potent enough form to where he could do something quick enough. He had to take way too much of the powder. He couldn't ingest enough of it. If he could have taken the extracts, he could have taken far less and had far more results. That was something he wanted me to work on. So I'm gonna ask y'all to help me work on that for not just our people in the South dealing with the dioxin-based cancers, but our people who went to war for this country, went to fight for this country, and as my father said, were poisoned by this country with dioxins. Y'all already know the Operation Black Shield popping off. You see what I'm saying? Matter of fact, let me tell you straight up and down. My father had a Polish Jewish doctor as an oncologist, right? And they're having a conversation about dioxins and whatnot, and cancer treatments and all that type of stuff. And the Polish Jewish doctor breaks down the fact that he was dealing with he was doing special medical experiments during the Vietnam War in terms of like autopsying what came back, etc., all that type of stuff. And you already know what happened with people finding out what happened with the pineal gland, all that type of stuff, right? He was sitting there saying, check this out. We don't know how this stuff affects you guys. We don't test it on y'all. Talking about people of African descent. We're worried about understanding how it deals with us. And he was being dead honest. He wasn't trying to be racist. And he was like, look, we don't have the data on dealing with it. Like, he was trying to be upfront with my pop. We don't have the data on how this affects you. I do. I was able to find some stuff that was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking in terms of not only is it do some of them know, do certain people know how damaging dioxins are to our people in particular? Some people design them to be. So I'm saying we need to take the reins. We need to take the keys to the car. We need to take the wheel, and we need to design our own therapies on purpose for us to counteract agents that have been designed to attack us. And that right there is why I'm not trying to do this on a for-profit thing. I don't care about the profits. I'm talking about helping our people deal with these epidemics and whatnot. There's gaps in the market on purpose because A, we're not filling the gaps, but B, we're being kept from information that could even allow us to understand we can fill the gaps. I'm lucky. I live in one of the mushroom capitals of the world. I live in the Pacific Northwest. This is one of the hub of producing medicinal mushrooms in the world. Like, if I didn't live here, I wouldn't know about this stuff. If I wasn't introduced to some of the world's foremost mycologists, I wouldn't know about this type of stuff. I'm talking about people who lead in these studies. If I wasn't buying their books and having them sign my books and talking about, like, I wouldn't know about this stuff. I'm lucky in that regard. Most of the people I talk to don't know nothing about this type of stuff. No matter what tradition you come from, no matter what race you come from. But I'll tell you this, the last people to know about it is our people. I know about it, so I'm trying to do my best to bring it to us. And not just bring it to us in a way that's beneficial to us. Growing mushrooms is one of the easiest things to learn how to do in the world. One of the easiest things to learn how to do in the world. It does not take much at all. As a matter of fact, it's easier. It is a million times easier than growing marijuana. For anybody who's done that, a million times easier. One person can take care of a lot more as well. It's crazy. At the same point in time, The profit margin on medicinal mushrooms is crazy. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So there's jobs in it for our people. That's not even an issue. The issue is we gotta start making it happen, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I want to develop products that specifically deal with blends that are specific to cancer types and the therapy needs that people need. A lot of the medicinal mushrooms information that I've dealt with, the people who produce the information and also produce the medicinal mushrooms themselves, they know what blends do what best. They just don't put them together like that. So you have to buy things individually. So you have to spend more money to do it. I'm talking about putting them together already pre-packaged, so you don't have to buy them individually, depending on your cancer type. Like I want to take, for instance, I want to take the turkey tail, right? No matter what cancer I got, I want to take that. That's mandatory. But there's certain times I want to take more of this or more of the chalk and the birch polypore, etc. Right? If I have skin cancer, for instance, there's a particular blend that I want to put together for that I know that I'm going to need automatically once you understand what skin cancer is and what it does to the body and whatnot. For instance, I'll say it like this. There's more than what's going to be here, but I'll just say it like this. I would need the turkey tail to label the cancer, right? I would need the chaga and the birch polypore to knock out the melanoma, right? I would also need something like this, like the reishi, as an anti-inflammatory, because, for instance, one of the things that happens in skin cancer is the skin actually starts to swell. It actually starts to inflame. So you need something to deal with that. That's what I mean by like a blend. And again, there's more that would go into it, but I'm that out of the ones I got there, like that breaks down what I'm talking about. Like you're not going to just have like a one size fits all. I can do like a basic blend for cancer in and of itself, but there's different needs that different cancers have. Different needs that different cancers have. And so I'm talking about putting together products that are specific blends for specific types. I also want to focus on making products that are specific to the dioxin-related cancers, ravaging the South, specific to it. Like I said, I can't even get the top form of the mushroom necessary. I can't even get the extracts necessary to deal with this properly yet. All I can get is the mushroom powder. I'm going to be asking our people to help me crowdfund so we can actually develop the extracts that we need and develop them in-house. In the South at that. And wherever our people want to grow them and send them there. You feel what I'm saying? And again, like I said, I want to focus on specifically treating skin cancer amongst the African albinos and whatnot. Because no one's doing that. No one's doing that. Again, it breaks my heart to see what happens in the people. They live on average of 30 years over there in Africa. A 30-year lifespan. Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. So I'm trying to, long story short, like I said, while I'm on my journey of dealing with my own health issues, I'm going to be simultaneously trying to do this as payment to the universe and to whatever God you want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? In terms of me being able to be given the information to where I don't have to worry about my own cancer. I'm not scared in the least about dealing with my cancer because of information I know and information I've been able to implement time and time again, and seeing the results time and time again. I want to be able to give our community that level of certainty. I don't lose a single ounce of sleep over, oh my God, I have cancer. I want to be able to give our community that level of confidence. Because when you hear cancer, and I've watched it happen, I've watched it knock people down, like literally, like they had to, like, took them off their feet when they, oh my God, clutched their chest and they had to sit down real quick, and it gets real serious. Cancer equals killer to people, and it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be in any way, shape, or form. It don't got to be some big dramatic thing we got to deal with either. And we definitely don't need to be in a situation to where our kids are starting to get cancer and leukemias and this, that, and the third. No, 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 no. So I'm gonna do my best to not just treat myself, but show others how they can use adjuvant therapies to make their lives better and to increase their chances uh, of surviving cancer and keeping it away and keeping it away. So I'm gonna cut it off right here, family. I got many more videos to make on this, breaking some stuff down. So please stay tuned for the following information: an in-depth breakdown on how the medicinal mushrooms specifically work in doing the things I listed above, and even more so, an in-depth breakdown on manufacturing and methodology in terms of how these mushroom products are made and why certain ones are not as good as others, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and why we need certain products that aren't being made and how they need to be made. I'm going to be covering specific adjuvant and adjunct therapies for specific types of cancer. So if you have a specific type, you want to know, hey, I'm already doing this over here. What else can I do with it? I'm going to do specific breakdowns on different types of cancer and the different adjuvant therapies that can be done with that in terms of mysotherapy. And you really need to stay tuned for this one, because I'm going to be doing a product comparison of products that are already on the market, so you can find out what's going to be your best bang for your buck. If I only got so much money to spend, like, I'm in a situation, I live on a fixed income. I can't spend all kind of money on therapies and whatnot. I can only spend within a certain amount, whether I want to or not. So within that, I got to figure out how can I treat myself and do so in an effective manner. I'm able to do so because I know the product. I know how all these products are made from top to bottom. I know their methodology and whatnot. And so I also know how they're made cheaper and how they're made more expensive, etc. And I know what type of product I need, and I'm able to source out who makes it the best and who makes it the cheapest and whatnot. And so, and who gives you the best bang for what buck. And so I'm going to be doing a product comparison and breakdown with price, with methodology, and with results and whatnot, with potency and whatnot, so people can understand. Okay, and I'm not sponsored by anybody. Just so we're clear, I'm not sponsored by a single solitary company, and I don't want to be. I'm trying to make it to where we have our own for this. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not sponsored by anybody. That way, like, you, I can clearly go through the top to bottom of these cats from all these manufacturers. Like, okay, this is the one you want to steer clear from, because they're just giving you a lot of smoke in a box, and these people are giving you gold in a box for dirt cheap. So please stay tuned for that. And I'm also be doing an in-depth breakdown on products that still need to be made. Still need to be made. If you have any questions on what I've been talking about in any way, shape, or form, please get at me at unifiedsolutionsnetwork@gmail.com. You can check me out more so and a couple brothers on Unified Solutions TV on YouTube. And you can find this particular Facebook note and information in our Facebook group page, public group page. It takes Unified Solutions. It takes unified solutions. There is a link for all this stuff in the description. So I appreciate you for all your time. Um, Again, any questions you have, put it down below. And cancer does not have to be scary in any way, shape, or form. It does not have to paralyze you with fear, and it does not have to be expensive to treat. I want you to walk away understanding those things. I'm not afraid of dealing with my own cancer in any way, shape, or form because I know what cancer is and I know how to take it out. I know what it does and I know what works with that. And I want to be able to give our community that same level of confidence and the same level of solutions, because I walked into too many cancer wards. Let me say it like this, fam. I walked into hella cancer wards with a bunch of rich white people in them, yeah? Dying. And the only thought in my head is like, if I can see these rich white people here in these wards, how many of my people need to be here that aren't here, that can't afford to be here? I'm trying, and all across the country in my extended family, everybody's getting this stuff. Everybody knows somebody who got it, or somebody really close, and it's getting closer. It used to be like you could be 2 or 3 people away. No. Now it's in the house or it's down the street. Everybody's getting it now. So I'm gonna get my ish together in terms of getting crowdfunding and all that type of stuff sourced out or structured and whatnot, and done in a very transparent way, so there can be no question about what money's being spent on what, and so y'all can have as much faith in what I'm doing as I have in what I know works for cancer. I'm gonna work my damnedest to be as transparent as possible because this needs to happen. And anybody who wants to help out, please do. Please do. I'm taking all suggestions and whatnot because our people need the help. Our people need the help. These epidemics need to stop in our community. These health epidemics need to stop in our community. All the ish we're fighting about right now, this is not something any of us can fight about. We should all be able to, you know what, we need to knock this one out. If you've got other means besides this medicinal mushroom therapy, throw it at me. Let's do this together. You feel what I'm saying? Let's add it all up and see whatever works is what works. I know some things that work for certain. Other people know other things that work for certain. Things that have been tested, proven, laboratory tested, etc. Let's link up and make unified solutions for our people. It takes us, family. It takes us to make a unified solution. It takes us to make a unified solution. So with that, family, I say peace and love.